Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Steph Curry has a new sidekick. Just how good is the fit with Jimmy Butler and the Warriors? And it's time for the Packers receiver room to get a true alpha. Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time.
I'm Peter Bukowski, starting your day with the can't-miss stories and biggest debates in sports. You're Locked On Sports Today.
Searching all major sports. Found.
Let's start with the biggest story.
The Golden State Warriors added Jimmy Butler on Wednesday. Steph Curry has a sidekick, but is it the right fit? Locked On Warriors host Charlie Walter broke down the trade.
Let's get to the details of this trade first. The Golden State Warriors get Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler, the two-way player, is heading to Golden State. The Heat get Andrew Wiggins. They get PJ Tucker and a protected first. The Detroit Pistons get Lindy Waters and Josh Richardson. The Utah Jazz get Dennis Schroeder. And the Raptors get Kyle Anderson. So Anderson, Schroeder, Wiggins, Lindy Waters, and a protected first are what's shipped out of the Bay Area. And that is what Miami gets. And the Warriors get a standalone talent in Jimmy Butler, someone who has been suspended, someone who is excellent when the lights shine brightest. And we're talking a catalyst to a player that's taken his team to the NBA Finals. And now he plays next to Draymond Green, Stephen Curry. And the big one that you lose is Andrew Wiggins. The big question, Kolsky, did the Golden State Warriors just get better today? And I guess the bigger question is, the extension. 3 days ago from Windhorst, we heard he had no plans of signing an extension in the Bay Area. Is this some sort of a crazy salary dump? What is to make of this to start?
Oh, man. So much to say. Dennis Schroeder, we hardly knew you. I think, okay, so a couple things. Let's start with who they sent out. Anderson, Schroeder, Wiggins, Waters. I guess people like Lindy Waters. I like Lindy Waters well enough, but none of those pieces are a significant part of the future, right? None of those pieces really matter to your future. Schroeder's expiring. Anderson had a couple years on his deal, but he's in his that's not an important.
But Wiggins matters. He's been playing great. And the big question that's going to be brought up is Jimmy Butler at this point, and a 35-year-old Jimmy Butler as compared to a 29-year-old Wiggins having a fringe all-star-like season. He's been giving you the same numbers as Jimmy Butler. This is one of those trades where I personally don't like it. I'm not a fan of it, but I am intrigued by it. I'm interested by it.
Yeah, well, let's put the Wiggins part aside, because that, I agree, is probably the most interesting discussion point here, right? What is the upgrade from Wiggins to Butler? But the bigger point before we get to that is that you did not have to put Kuminga, Moody, Podziemski, or an unprotected pick into this deal, right? So the guys that the Warriors look at as the young core of the future are still intact. Now, is that going to be a good team in 5 years? I have no idea. Probably not. They're going to need.
All right, let's hold on real quick, because we got to get this out of the way right now. It's that Jimmy Butler obviously has signed an extension. So a 2-year, $121 million extension to stay in Golden State through the 2026-2027 season. So this is no salary dump. Jimmy Butler is a part of this Warriors future. Back to it, Kolsky.
For 3 years, this year and 2 more, right?
Yes.
And that lines him up with Steph and Draymond. So the old guys are grouped together here, and the Warriors basically have this year and 2 more to try to get something done.
So everything we said, get younger, no more Jurassic Park music. What's the new Jurassic Park coming out?
Well, they didn't get older, though, right? I mean, I would like this way less if they had to put somebody under 25 that matters into the deal. But they didn't. So that.
But Andrew Wiggins matters. He matters tremendously.
But it's a separate conversation. So we'll get to the Butler versus Wiggins thing, I promise. I want to start with the easier things. I'm trying to start with the easy things. It's clearly good that they didn't have to put Moody, Kuminga, or Podziemski in this deal. It's clearly good that they didn't have to put an unprotected pick in this deal if things go totally, upside down. They still have, we'll see what the protection is, but I'm sure they have protection there. The second thing is the money. Ignore it because it doesn't matter. The Warriors are up against every conceivable thing that blocks you from just going out on the market and signing a big name player. They could not have done that. And the fact that Butler's going to make $60 million next year instead of $30 million, the only difference is money out of Joe Lacob's pocket. So Warrior fans, ignore it. It doesn't matter that Jimmy Butler's making $60 million. You weren't going to be able to trade him again anyway in the next 2 years. That affects the franchise bottom line to some degree. It does not affect the product on the court. So I wouldn't worry about his money at all. In his own way, he's earned it with an incredible NBA career.
You can stay up to date on the Golden State Warriors by subscribing to Locked On Sports today and Locked On Warriors on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. I love going to live events, whether it's sports, music, theater, or comedy. Imagine going to the big game this Sunday. That's what a lot of the people around me here on Radio Row are going to do, and the fans who are coming to New Orleans. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets for your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have time searching. Inspiration makes it easier to save more on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and take the work on tickets. Game Time. Download Game Time, create an account, and use promo code Locked On for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code Locked On for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Phoenix's 25-24 record and current 9th place standing in the West entering Tuesday has teams saying, hey, what about Kevin Durant? Can we get in on this action? Golden State was eager to pair him with Steph Curry. Durant saying no. Durant won Finals MVP in 2017 and 2018 with Golden State. And speaking of trades, one that is happening, the Milwaukee Bucks are sending Chris Middleton to Washington and are getting Kyle Kuzma in return.
The Washington Wizards are trading Kyle Kuzma, Patrick Baldwin Jr., and a 2025 second-round pick to the Milwaukee Bucks for Chris Middleton, combo guard A.J. Johnson, and a 2028 first-round pick swap. So I grade this trade a B, and the reason for that, you get Chris Middleton, and while he could probably be bought out or be moved in another deal, if they retain him, yes, he does make $31 million this year, and he has a player option for $33.2 next year, but his contract will not break the bank for the Washington Wizards, and they're not going to make any kind of serious moves for at least the next 2 to 3 years. So, again, he will not tie down the cap room. And 2, A.J. Johnson is a nice, intriguing combo guard at 6'5". He brings versatility, and he can stretch the floor. So, like I said, the pick swap, not the best pick swap, but like I said, the pick does give you capabilities hitting into the 2025 and 2026 draft. So, you guys let me know what you think. Hail to the Wizards, and peace.
Brandon Ingram or a chance to get Cooper Flagg. The Pelicans decided they'd rather shoot for the future at the trade deadline.
So the deal that I see right now, and I'm literally doing this live here, it's going to be Bruce Brown Jr., Kelly Olynyk, and multiple draft picks coming back to the New Orleans Pelicans. I think I'm still waiting on what those exact draft picks are, but from what I got texted, it's a first and second round pick at the very least, and we'll figure out the specifics of what those what the picks are. So this is a move that we kind of expected, right? We knew Brandon Ingram was going to get traded by this team here. And so it's not a big shock that it went like this. Getting a first round pick, getting a second round pick, getting expiring salary, that's kind of what they were looking for here. It was going to be some combination of that, but this was not going to be a tremendous haul for the New Orleans Pelicans, a la the Anthony Davis trade or some other deals that we've expected. Given the circumstances as of today, and more on this in the next segment here, this was about as good as New Orleans probably was going to be able to do. And if you listen to the show yesterday, the Everydayers heard this. A lot of y'all heard this. It was well listened to. When we looked at Toronto, I said, no way are they going to bring RJ Barrett back. You had to, in this deal, factor in the Pelicans salary cap next year. So they were going to look for expiring salary, and if they carried any money over, it was going to be in a smaller range. Thus, you get Bruce Brown Jr., who's on a $23 million expiring deal, and then Kelly Olynyk, who's going to make next year $13.445 million. That fits in the Pelicans' room to the luxury tax that they have. Right now, if you would just let everyone kind of walk off the books with Trey Murphy's extension kicking in, which adds $20 million to the books next year, you can fit in that $13.5 million from Kelly Olynyk, because gives the Pelicans then about $8-9 million to the luxury tax threshold to fill out the rest of the roster. So this fits in the financial constraints that New Orleans was probably kind of had over their head when it comes to this deal. That's why they didn't get an RJ Barrett back. That's what I told you in yesterday's show. Specifically mentioned they weren't going to take back RJ Barrett in this. This deal was also complicated by the fact that Brandon Ingram is due for a lot of money, right? And so you look at that and you realize it was just always going to be a divorce. There's a couple of things with this deal that, kind of made sense that this was going to end up happening. And as I said just a moment ago, all things considered, I think the Pelicans did about as good of a job as they could getting a first round pick back. I see a lot of y'all saying it's a Pacers 2026 first round pick that is 1 to 4 protected. That's fine. Look, it's not that pick's going to be likely in the early 20s, early to mid 20s. Getting a first round draft pick for him that you can use to try and improve the roster later or for whatever you might want to do, I think ends up being a pretty good deal here. Olynyk's likely going to be moved with that pick in some capacity in the future. By doing this deal, the Pelicans fix their financial books and keep things okay for next year. It's not an amazing deal. The only way you would have gotten an amazing deal was maybe 2 years ago on Brandon Ingram, or even last year when there was a very real market for him. And more on that in the second and third segment here, when we look at a lot of the mistakes that this front office has made with this sort of situation here. But overall, they getting a first round pick back that's like a usable first round pick. If you look at the return for De'Aaron Fox in Sacramento, 3 first round picks, that's more than they got for Luka, right? One of those is literally going to turn into 2 second round picks, and that's not really a great thing. We don't know what this second round pick that they're getting back is either, but that's a very useful thing to get too. So this trade for New Orleans is not really about the players. It's about the salary cap flexibility and the draft picks. Right? They're out of contention this season. They're not making the playoffs at all this season. Bruce Brown Jr., who's expiring, doesn't really matter. Kelly Olynyk doesn't matter whatsoever here. So that to me says, okay, who really cares about the players? It's about the picks.
You can stay up to date on the New Orleans Pelicans by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and Locked On Pelicans on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube.
Coming up, the Packers need an alpha wide receiver. Super Bowl 59 is here. One game, 2 teams, endless possibilities, and there's no better way to make every play more exciting than with FanDuel Sportsbook. Whether it's predicting the first touchdown, calling the MVP, or even betting on the coin toss, FanDuel makes it easy to get in on the action with live betting all game long. You can adjust your bets as the game unfolds and feel the thrill from kickoff to the final whistle. The live betting feature lets you stay involved no matter what happens on the field, and the app is super easy to navigate. Plus, knowing that you can place a $5 bet and potentially win $200 in bonus bets for the Super Bowl, that's icing on the cake. How about $5 and taking that and putting it on the total for the Super Bowl? FanDuel sees this as a low-scoring Super Bowl total at 48.5. I guess that checks out. 2 teams want to control the clock. That's not a crazy low number, but it's also not over 50, which would be a lot. Download the app or head to FanDuel.com to get started. Bet just $5, and if you win, you'll score $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Bet with FanDuel, official partner of Super Bowl 59. Super Bowl 59, Radio Row, New Orleans, and I found another Packers fan.
Yes, there's quite a few of us around here.
There are. We were just talking to Tom Grossi.
Yep.
We had Aaron Nagler earlier on this week.
We have a whole Lambeau field basically over here.
Yeah.
Like
we should have shot this on.
That would have been cool. That's okay.
I wanted to talk to you, though, because for a lot of reasons, but the first is Josh Jacobs was here earlier. All he wanted to talk about was, well, not all he wanted to talk about, but every takeaway on every interview was the Packers needed number 1 receiver.
Yeah.
Before he did that, did you think they did?
I didn't. And going into this year, I'm a big Jordan Love stan, obviously. But going into this year, I said the cool thing about it is we don't have enough wide receiver, and Jordan Love will get the ball to whoever's open, which allows a lot more opportunities on offense. You know, we had Jaden Reed. It would just be a more spread offense, and it's harder for defenses, obviously, to play man or to cover that. But I didn't know he would include the entire other team. So I'm a little bit more worried about that than the number one wide receiver. I think our wide receivers are great. I get what Josh Jacobs is saying, though, and you mentioned earlier it might be a Devontae situation is what he was looking for.
It does, like, when I hear that, like, he said he wanted to recruit. Like, we're like, in Philadelphia in post-game, and he's like, I'm going to be on the phone to some people. And, you know, Max Crosby, Devontae Adams, and now he's here. I mean, he's in front of Lambeau Field, in front of the Packers PR guy. And he's like, yeah, I think we need a number one receiver. Like, doesn't he have to be speaking for Devontae Adams? That's
You would think so. You would think so.
Would you agree to it?
100%. I wonder what fans think. Like Packers fans think it as a thing. They're not. I mean, we're a little bitter because he left when we offered him more money.
Yeah.
But it would be like the prodigal son returning. Like he got burned, now he comes back. But it's like in Infinity War, where he's like, "Where does that bring you? Back to me."
Oh, back to me.
Yeah, that's what happened. You know, come back to the Super Bowl winning years. No, it was close. That was my fantasy impression.
I liked it.
I don't do impressions, guys. That's not my content.
That's true.
Gosh.
Maybe something to add in next time. I don't know. We'll see.
If I want to lose followers.
If Devontae Adams wants to come back,
yes.
Are you worried about the hierarchy? Are you worried about that upsetting the balance in here because he's an older player? They've been avoiding that. Jaden Reed also a little spicy on Twitter because I think the problem is Packer fans are like, oh yeah, our guys suck. And it's like, well, that's not what Josh Jacobs said.
Yeah. You talked about this earlier too. We overreact. Packers fans overreact to everything. They're calling for Matt LaFleur's job. They were some idiot on Twitter said that Jeff Hafley was the second coming of Joe Barry. What idiot would say something that dumb, guys?
Who would say that? Who would say that from your Twitter account? I don't know who would possibly say that.
I got hacked. No, I think it would be good. I think I thought Jordan Love is a good leader. I think he's a great leader, but I think we lack a little bit. I mean, we're young, super young NFL team. I think we lack a little bit of that. I think Devontae would be great. Bring him in the locker room. As long as he doesn't get all diva-y, like a lot of our wide receivers do, then I think we'll be fine. But what do you think about it? I think it would be a great addition.
I think it's sort of the perfect thing because he's coming back home. It's not he's going into some other place, and I think that gives him like the gravitas that maybe you wouldn't in a different situation. Like, he's just some random guy coming in. Like when Julius Peppers came in, like imagine if Julius Peppers had started his career in Green Bay, he would have been totally like the vibe would have been even better, and it was still really good. So let's say they go get Devontae, let's just say. Do you think that like and have a decent draft? Like is that enough, or do they need to go like Khalil Mack? Do they need to be in on Myles Garrett? Like if they get Devontae Adams, would you?
I would go in on Myles Garrett like it's nobody's business. Oh my God, give him whatever he wants. I would think that's our first plan of attack because our pass rush sucked. It was rough. Like sorry, but it was tough. And maybe that's where the whole Joe Barry thing came from. I saw prevent defense once and freaked out. No, I think it would be. I mean, Myles Garrett's going to make an impact on any team. You can basically list the teams that don't want him a lot easier than the teams that do want him. Everybody wants him. It's just a lot of teams don't have the cap space to get that. But I would go after him 1,000,000%. Don't you think?
I mean, look, if they can make it work, I don't know. It seems like the 49ers can offer better draft capital. The Bears could offer better draft capital. So it's like
Commanders was like the top one. They have the third most cap space.
Commanders would also be a good Devontae Adams destination. I think that would make a lot of sense if you wanted to go there.
Especially with Jaden Daniels.
That'd be really fun.
Jordan Love is better than Jaden Daniels.
Okay, where are you on Jordan Love? Because I made the joke to Carmen Vitale yesterday. There were like some people last year. Everyone was super excited about Jordan Love.
It's because we thought his ceiling was so high. We'd only seen him a little bit. I think he's got a lot more to learn than I thought he did. Is the issue. And some of it's so Brett Favre-esque, guys. Like those throws. Every time you throw the ball, you'd hold your breath. Like this is either going to be the best throw you've ever seen, or it's going to go right into the defender's hands. And that was
into three defenders.
Yeah, into three defenders' hands. It was very thrilling, but very scary. And he's our franchise guy. Like I think we have a franchise quarterback. I think he can get us to a Super Bowl. I'm just a little worried about how long that will take.
Okay, so you think he's a good leader? You think he's got a little bit of YOLO in him? Like, what's the next step then? Or is it just like, hey, you get Devontae Adams and we're ready to go?
See, if you get a little more structure, get someone that is going to say, hey, in these third down situations, let's not panic. Let's not force throws. Forcing throws was probably his worst.
Devontae on 3rd and 6.
Yeah.
Get open.
And if he has a reliable wide receiver, maybe he won't panic as much because he'll know he's going to that guy instead of having to figure out who to toss the ball up to. And out. Yeah, I think it's just having a little bit more structure. And it's not like Matt LaFleur's a great coach. It's not like he doesn't know how to call a great game. But just in the red zone for some odd reason, play calling just went to a bad word.
You almost
Oh, I almost did, guys.
I think you almost said on my show.
I did.
You would bleep it on your video.
I would. Yeah, I don't really swear. Unless I'm watching Packers games.
I talked to Dominique Easley earlier, and we're going to have to bleep it up. And he said,
I'll save the editing.
He said, sorry for the language, but it doesn't matter. I still got to fix it. So we're good.
It's like saying no offense and then saying something super offensive.
Exactly. Well, yeah. But luckily he didn't offend me. So let the audience know. They follow you on Twitter probably. But you're doing a ton of stuff this week.
Yes.
You're going to talk to Jordan Love.
I have an NFC fan video coming out today. So keep an eye out for that, guys.
Okay. Anything else? What are we doing?
I'm doing Toyota. I'm doing something with Toyota. See if the people know. I'm doing something with Toyota. Guess who I'm interviewing, guys?
I already blew it.
Jordan Love. Did you say it? Oh, I didn't even hear it. It ruined my joke. Yes, I'm interviewing Jordan Love with Toyota for Toyota Time tomorrow, and that'll be posted on my socials. And yeah,
NFL honors.
NFL honors. A couple of more interviews. I have to make sure I don't have to be on. Yeah.
Thanks, Ann.
That'd be great. Thank you.
You can get more with the Packers all year long by subscribing to Locked On Sports Today and your favorite show, right? My other show, Locked On Packers, on your favorite podcast app and on YouTube. And finally, the Rams will host a game in Australia during the 2026 season. The NFL announced on Wednesday the game will be played in Melbourne at the iconic Melbourne Cricket Ground and will be the first ever NFL game played in Australia, coming as part of the league's multi-year commitment to play regular season games in that country. The Rams' opponent, along with the date and kickoff time, will be announced at a later date. They are going international in an incredible way in the NFL. If you're catching this episode after hearing your favorite Locked On show, make sure to subscribe to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss an episode. Also, if you're a new subscriber to Locked On Sports Today, we're here for you with the biggest stories in sports every day. Coming up, we get you ready for everything you need to know for Super Bowl 59. So at least until tomorrow, stay Locked On Sports Today.
Locked On Podcast Network presents Locked On Sports Today.
Go to our video on demand. Click on sports at the top of your screen. There, you'll find past episodes of Locked On Sports Today, plus other Locked On shows on demand.